Hello, friends. Welcome. It's Location Weekly, your favorite podcast show of the week. This is episode number 627, and we're recording on the 4th of July. Yes, for our American friends, it is a holiday. Brianna's taking time off to do this from, celebrating her country and independence and all those things. So thank you, Brianna. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It is very hot and muggy, and I'm, looking forward to some fireworks maybe later tonight. Although I was very excited. We saw a beautiful fireworks display from our front yard last night, which was amazing. So I didn't have to go very far. I'm glad. Take a day off though. But I'm glad to be here with you too.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we had here in Canada, we had our Canada Day yesterday as well. So that was fun, and there was fireworks and all the same kind of things. So it's good that we're celebrating these things. And for those of you who tuned in last week, you saw that Karsten and I recorded from Italy in the Alps. So hopefully that was a bit of a change for you. It was a different show too. We didn't have any stories at all. We just kind of talked about where we've come from since COVID, and kind of what's been happening with the LBMA, and kind of some of the new initiatives and what's coming up in the future, and kind of trends that we're seeing in the industry. So it was kind of like a good mid-year kind of check-in on the state of the industry and location and what the LBMA is doing. So hopefully,
And you did it wearing fedoras.
We did it wearing fedoras. Very Italian, so we had to. So yeah, anyhow. And I think hopefully we'll make that an annual tradition now. So just like how we have our year-end review show and kind of predictions, now we'll have this mid-year kind of review kind of thing as well. So yeah. So we're back to normal. We have 4 stories for you this week, and I'll let Brianna kick us off.
Okay, well, I have been familiar with IRI for a while, but now IRI and the NPD Group have merged under the new name of Circana. So if you're not familiar with Circana, that is who they are. And they've launched something now called Always On Analytics Solution. So what they're aiming to do here is empower clients to analyze real-time data through these advanced algorithms for immediate actionable insights. So this is available through their Unify Plus software. And, they're really hoping to redefine analytics, starting with 6 key applications. So the areas they've identified here, they're talking about are price sensitivities, price opportunities, and price monitoring, and then an incrementality analysis, commercial spend optimization, and inflation monitor. Now, I can tell you just from being in the advertising world, a lot of these, SKU brands or CPG brands are using this type of data and analysis in order to buy their media, determine where they're going to spend on. Is their media or their marketing and advertising spends actually having impact? And then also, when you think about like price sensitivities and opportunities, how do they have the ability to maybe adjust things like above, beyond, below, like based on what's happening in the market? So they're going to add additional capabilities at the end of this year. But I think this is good. Like IRI is a staple. They've been around for a long time. There's not a lot of options when it comes to measuring CPG. I think there's a variety of options, but really these brands need to know, like, is the money that I'm spending on marketing advertising impactful? And then how do I incrementally get more? And, whether that's more consumers or the same amount of consumers spending more money. And then what are the opportunities that I can take advantage of for altering my prices, right? So I think that this is a good tool, maybe similar to what's already been out there in the market, but just providing it in one unique dashboard or software service is probably a nice value add. So I know, like, internally, a lot of the ad tech platforms will have to get used to now talking about Circana instead of IRI. But, for the most place, I think that they have carved out a niche for themselves and then are kind of like starting to expand upon that. And I really believe that specifically in media right now and in advertising, showing return on investment is more impactful and important than ever. So I am guessing that more and more analysis and actionable analysis, if you will, platforms are going to kind of spring into play here. So that's my 2 cents on it. What do you think, Asif?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. I think obviously, they've been around for a long time, new name, but certainly a big player in the industry. I think the timing's good. I think when you look at where the economy is right now here in North America and all over the world, with inflation where it is and mortgage rates rising and I think looking at things like price sensitivities and inflation and factoring that into how advertising works and how media buying works, I think is smart. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think the other thing too is what I didn't see in here, and I'm sure it's in the platform somewhere, but how do all of these 6 elements play across geographic areas differently? Is it different in Southern California than it is in Northern California or other parts of the country? And how does that play out in real time in terms of the the analytics and the ad buying implications for that? But I think it makes a ton of sense. And we've talked before about when it comes to grocery and perishable items and the ability to adjust things on the fly and move products out quicker based on sort of what's happening in an area or in a neighborhood or the impacts that weather can have on things. So I'm assuming that they're factoring these other components in, but I love kind of the play here, the platform, and kind of positioning it on, and I think the name's interesting too. The always on analytics is a good one. So yeah. All right. Moving over to our second story now. So we're going to jump across the pond over to Tokyo, and some researchers over at the University of Tokyo are working on a new system. So we're all familiar in the location world with GPS, global positioning systems, and how they work with satellites and radio transmitters and receivers. And we've been using that for positioning in our cars and with Waze and all the apps that we have on our phone that use location services. It's kind of the standard that we're all familiar with, but it has its failings at different times. It's obviously doesn't work well underground, or when there's thick walls of concrete indoors or things like that, and definitely not underwater. And so what these researchers have developed at the University of Tokyo is a new system that uses cosmic rays, or in scientific terms, we're talking about muons, M-U-O-N-S, is how you spell that for the science geeks out there. So essentially these cosmic rays are bouncing around all the time, and they've developed a system that's kind of like a new kind of GPS. They're calling it a muometric positioning system, or MUPS. It works underground, indoors, and underwater. So it's kind of designed to address the failings of GPS. It requires a receiver and multiple reference detectors positioned above it. And essentially, it's able to, because these kinds of